Hello gorgeous and welcome back. It is your fave ethereal mother and back with another episode of AstroTea of what's happening celestially. Just a reminder, or if you did not already know, I have these episodes available on YouTube and in podcast format and in blog format as well, with pictures and articles and things like that. So depending on what you want to invest your time in, I have other options for you. So I hope that you enjoy them, and don't forget to leave a comment, a like, share, all that jazz, because I really appreciate it. I've been putting some work in, so I hope that you see it. Before we get into the upcoming transits, I want to backpedal just for a moment and revisit my last episode when I spoke about Neptune retrograde in Pisces. I touched on how Neptune and Pisces represent illusions, misinformation, secrets, things that are hidden, and also the ocean. And based on the most recent tragic event, I think I was pretty spot on. I will go more in detail about some of these topics in a later video, but concerning OceanGate and the Titanic, I want to reference that with the Titanic, there were actually 3 men on board who were some of the most richest men in the world. They were preventing the US Federal Reserve to be what it is today, and it just so happened to sink. It's very interesting that a similar situation happened with OceanGate. I still have to do some more research into everyone's background that was on this craft, if that's what you can call it. But I cannot remember his name, but he is from Pakistan, and he is a part of trying to create a economic cyclical system. Like I said, I'll get into more details at a later date, but right now, I did reference in the last episode of AstroTea how Neptune retrograde in Pisces, or both of these energies, do represent illusions, distractions, and things that are hidden. So I do believe that it's honestly hard for me to kind of feel empathy. It's honestly feeling empathy for these individuals. I don't really know how to feel. I just think it's fascinating. I just think it's fascinating how billionaires use their money when there's, homeless crisis and rioting and protesting still happening in other countries and other places. So here we are. The reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because a lot of times the media is used as a distraction. This, I believe, is one of those situations because it's a story that has flooded the media so intensely for about a week. You kind of don't realize what else is happening either in other parts of the world or in your own country for that matter. So let's get into that really quickly. So while we were distracted with OceanGate and all this shit, 24 hours of air, oh my god, that was mean. Like I said, I don't know how to feel about this. It's really hard to care, but anyway. One of the news stories that we were distracted from paying attention to is emails between JP Morgan and Jeffrey Epstein were leaked and released, but 47 million of those emails were mistakenly deleted. The second thing is Joe Biden is undergoing the impeachment vote through the House. So the Pentagon fat fingered, I don't know what that term is so weird to me, but they essentially gave $6 million to Ukraine. Again, homelessness in America. I don't know what's happening. Hunter Biden has gotten a gentle little slap on the wrist, and the FBI whistleblowers have mysteriously gone missing. Mysterious is also a Pisces keyword. And John Durham has had his congressional hearing. So yeah, there have been quite a few important events that have happened while we were distracted by OceanGate. And the reason why I'm using the word distraction because it is, but also because they knew within 2 hours that this vessel didn't make it. So why continue this facade? Why continue doing this? And with the list of headlines that I have just spoken on, I'm hoping that you understand that this is all a game to these people, and we really have to pay attention to what's happening behind the scenes. Yes, it is fascinating, because I'm like, why would you want, I don't understand the fascination with the Titanic and going to go see it. The ocean for me is the first primordial element being that we have on this earth. So I just don't like to fuck with it. I don't like to fuck with Mother Earth like that. I just like to let her be. If something happens to fall deep in the depths of the ocean, it's hers. It's the ocean's now. That's it. And like I said, in a later video, I'll get more in depth on all these different topics and articles, just so we can really see what's going on behind the scenes, because these events will affect us in the future in some capacity. So all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into AstroTea for these upcoming transits. First up, we have a full moon happening in the sign of Capricorn, highlighting our responsibilities, maturity, our accomplishments, and the womb space via the moon. Now that summer is happening, we are really observing how we perceive tradition and structure. Since we are still in the beginning stages of summer, it is a great time to really build up a lot of momentum in order to carry us into this next season. And with the wisdom that we have gained from past experiences or teachers, we can actually create a system that works for us in our future, whether that be the physical body, as in some sort of exercise, or taking your vitamins, since Capricorn does represent the bone structure, or you could focus on your career, which is also fine. Capricorn energy wants tangible results. If you have diligently been trying to master your own skills or learn new skills, Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, will reward your hard work, because you have reached a level of responsibility where Saturn feels comfortable giving you more. Pluto is now still retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, and it is still wreaking havoc on systems and structures that do not align with where we're trying to move collectively or personally, and really bringing awareness to the necessary transformations that are needed for us to evolve. And the other side of fear is freedom. So it's definitely time to update some beliefs and learn from past experiences that have been happening since 2008, which is when Pluto originally moved into Capricorn. Our angels consistently give us new opportunities, different perspectives, and new resources for us to build the life that we have always dreamed of. But we need to be focused and aware of what those things look like. I'm guilty of this as well, but if you spend the majority of your day on TikTok or something like that, then you're just not using your energy and time as efficiently as possible. Capricorn and Saturn do rule the energy of time, and time is the most valuable asset that you could ever possess. And if you are having difficulties utilizing that asset, then it is time to again reevaluate how you maneuver and do research, or again ask or obtain some sort of mentor to teach you how to do so. And sometimes it's a simple to-do list, to be honest. It's really important to stay present in each moment, because you never know when you might have a great idea, but because you're too distracted by social media or certain things that you may feel that, or certain things that make you feel inadequate, you might just miss the smallest sign. Anytime fear is talking, it's very loud. And intrusive, and sometimes aggressive. But if it is a intuitive nudge or your inner self talking, it's usually a feeling or a spark, like an idea or something like that. So keep that in mind when you're trying to navigate these situations. So we do have Pluto in Capricorn sextile Neptune in Pisces. Pluto is helping us to uncover what is really important and what is not. Neptune in Pisces is putting us in a place where we are reaching higher levels of spirituality in order to communicate with the divine. With Saturn currently in Pisces as well, it is helping us to solidify and to be able to experience our manifestation tangibly. And when you understand the concept that things have to create or form in the spiritual and then they come to the physical, then you'll kind of understand that like everything that you're doing, everything that you're working towards is very important, and that you have to be flexible at certain times, because sometimes something might not work out and you might have to find a different way to accomplish what you need to get done. We also do have Mars and Venus in Leo, helping us to really open up our heart chakra, because when you are trying to manifest and you're coming from a place of love, it actually happens a lot faster and magic can truly take place. And if you think back to Jesus, he was around during the Piscean era and he was able to create or do so many miracles, but in reality it was his love and his energetic power that was able to do all of these miracles. And it's time to view the world from a child's perspective and be very open-minded and fall into Mother Earth's womb space, i.e. the matrix, for rejuvenation. Our next transit is Mars in Virgo. I am very excited about this transit because Mars is the vehicle for us to achieve our desires, and Virgo knows how to be efficient. Virgo will help you identify crisis and dysfunction, especially when it comes down to your daily routines, in order for those holes to be filled with healthier options. For example, you say around noon, you're going to get all this done, and that completed. But then you get on TikTok and next thing you know, it's 7 p.m. and nothing has been done. So not an efficient use of time. People get so discouraged and they think that they are not capable or deserving of a life that makes sense for them and what they love to do. And then they kind of sit in this energy of self-loathing. But then you have to understand that you do have to take responsibility for your actions and utilize, again, the greatest resource ever, time, in the best way possible. Yes, it is important to schedule breaks and to detach from the world, but not when it comes at your own detriment and you're still sitting in stagnant issues and energy. Mars is also the warrior planet and it can be very aggressive, so you might also find yourself challenging systems that are dysfunctional, toxic, even, things that are happening in the work environment, Virgo, especially if you are being overworked. But also do remember not to overwork yourself, to not end up burning yourself out before you can even complete the goals that you set out for the day. And if you are having trouble gaining motivation or the urge to just take action in some capacity, start with a very simple to-do list. As someone who has ADHD, it is very helpful, and I have damn near mastered efficiency, if I must say so. And there's even sometimes where my willpower is so strong that if I have to get up at 5 a.m. to do something, I will do it. And then when it's time for my break, I might just take a nap. Sometimes it is nice to kind of look at the bigger picture of things, but with the help of Virgo, you can take something very small and very pure and create something very unique, like turning wheat into bread, which is actually very simple to make if you've never tried it. So our next transit is a beautiful new moon happening in its home sign of Cancer. This new moon in Cancer is calling for us to contemplate how we internally relate to ourselves. Many of these habits could come from childhood or some sort of motherly figure, and we could have adopted some of those habits from them as well. So definitely be mindful of that and observe how you move and what is beneficial for you. And this is also a great time to do research and invest in reparenting yourself, because many of us have dealt with a lot of traumatic events, especially in childhood, And it's important to really kind of hold space for what we've experienced and for those things to continue healing or at least start the healing process. And over time, a lot of us have lost the ability to be receptive, and receptivity is how we connect with others, how we connect with ourselves, and how we connect with the world. But based on the failing patriarchal system that many of us have grown up in, we sometimes don't know which way to go. So it's really important to analyze what cycles have been happening that have just led to destructive tendencies, which is very much under the umbrella of patriarchal systems. And with that awareness, you can start breaking these cycles in order to create new ones. And definitely take time to kind of journal different areas where you have felt stuck or have been sitting in stagnant energy for way too long. And I know it may seem crazy, but I do want you to remember that you are on this earth for a very specific reason, but it is your responsibility to figure out what that reason is. And if you have to, you might have to start over, which can be very scary. For example, like a new relationship or move or start any sort of new friendships or connections or something like that. But yeah, starting over can be scary, but sometimes it's necessary. And with the wisdom that you have gained from past experiences, there's no telling what you can achieve now, especially that you are capable of dodging a lot of unnecessary pitfalls. And be open to the universe's magic, because you never know how it's going to appear, and it can present itself in many shapes and forms. Next up, we have the sun entering Leo in its home sign. And happy birthday to all my Leo babies. Meow. I'm sorry. But happy birthday to you guys, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful season. And if you guys are not getting at least 15 minutes of sun each day, I will be low-key upset. Especially if you have been experiencing a lack of energy. Vitamin D is very important. And who doesn't need sunlight? Who doesn't want sunlight? We're basically plants. Leo is ushering in a season of creativity and unapologetically expressing ourselves however we choose to. And it's also important to allow death to fall over habits where we have diminished our shine for others to feel comfortable in our presence. And the sun also represents our soul, solar, and like a roaring fire. It wants to radiate. When energy is not able to flow properly, it becomes cold and hard, like your heart or like a dying star. A great way to know that if you are entering into this territory is if you are experiencing burnout, especially if you are going against your heart's desires. And they can physically manifest as fatigue or some sort of autoimmune disorder or disease or obstruction. So definitely find ways to release energy, whether that be in the form of something creative or recharging your battery in nature, or maybe a new routine like exercise or something like that. Something gentle if you have not really exercised like that for real. So it's up to you, it's okay. And if you are someone who is not really feeling too confident right now, doing some sort of affirmations at sunset and sunrise will really benefit you in an incredible way. Many of us have created this sort of mask in order to protect ourselves and to be safe, but this Leo season is really asking us to peel back those layers, because living in this individualistic society, we have truly forgotten who we are and how special we are. And it's important to embrace every single facet of yourself to attract those that deserve to be in your orbit. And the last transit that I will be speaking on during this beautiful episode of AstroTea is Venus retrograde in Leo. Venus retrograde in Leo is helping us to elevate the heart space with a bit of self-love without seeking external validation or people admiring you. And we can spend some time creating a healthier version of our ego. And you can definitely utilize this energy by connecting with your inner child through play or just some things that you enjoy doing when you were younger, like arts and crafts, keeping an open mind, watching the clouds, going to the park, laughing. And you can also write a letter to your inner child, or letters, or simply give them the voice to speak for themselves. The most significant theme of this transit is adding value to your own self-worth. Venus is ruling Jupiter and Uranus at this time because they are both in the sign of Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, and they are helping us to expand how we utilize money and our resources in a more efficient way. But the only way to increase your income or your situation is to boost your self-worth. Because if you think about Venus and the feminine archetype, you will understand that the energy is very receptive and it attracts and is very magnetic. Doing things like affirmations and small acts of self-care can really put you in a state of flow so that these resources, money, relationships, and anything else you desire can just naturally flow towards you. At this time, Venus is conjunct Lilith, which is the dark feminine archetype. And if you remember, Lilith was the first wife of Adam, and she wanted to be independent and not subservient, and God was like, you can just leave. I do believe that story is fabricated because it is odd that a woman who wants to be independent from a man is deemed as someone who is a whore or is someone who is not worth the love and attention that they deserve. Lilith energy can also manifest in the physical or emotional as rejection or revenge, especially when it comes down to gender inequality in the workspace, for example. And I do think that it is okay to embrace the darkness, but not be consumed by it, because you never know what is within the darkness. Like I said, anyone who embraces the feminine archetype, whether dark or light, has a level of magnetism and seduction. And because we live in a very patriarchal society, there have been a lot of things that we have had to tone down. Say, for example, our confidence. You know, if you are with someone who is, say for instance, if I was dating a man who was intimidated by my confidence or how I operate, then that person does not deserve to be in my presence or to accept what I can give in a relationship. Very Venus energy. So if you have dealt with these types of issues or something very parallel to it, Venus is adding a little bit of softness. And say for instance, if you have been in connections a little longer than you should have, we're all guilty of it, this retrograde is bringing in a level of understanding and forgiveness and love, because life is life and sometimes we just don't know no better, and it is what it is. But next time we'll know. Next time we'll know how to conduct ourselves in a relationship where it can be harmonious for both parties involved. Venus does rule over money and finances, so during this retrograde we might take some time or be confronted with how we utilize our resources, especially if we have been wasting them. For example, if you're the kind of person who has uttered the words, TikTok made me do it, TikTok made me buy it, then this message is directed towards you. So sorry, but not really. If we do not find constructive ways to utilize our energy and our resources and time, which is another important resource, then we waste it on things that don't necessarily matter or equate to actual happiness. It's another external thing that we are trying to cultivate some sort of harmony and happiness, but it doesn't work. It's truly a tale as old as time. Another example of how you could potentially waste your energy, which is something that I mentioned before, staying in toxic relationships, initiating arguments and self-criticism. And sitting in these energies shows the universe that you are not ready for more responsibilities or more resources or anything else that you truly want for your life at this time. And another example of this is, say for instance, someone wins the lottery and they completely blow it within a week. This is an example of wasting your resources, but if you do not have the preparation necessary to handle these resources or don't have any goals in mind or aspirations, then this can easily be your situation. And it happens on a macro level. If you are TikTok, maybe buy it. Like it's the same thing, but yeah. And I know it's sounding very shady, and I'm not trying to be shady, because on occasion I do love TikTok, and I have found some really useful gizmos and gadgets, but again, it is important to identify your priorities and what you're trying to achieve, and never be scared of receiving. All it takes is a bit of preparation and strategy, and you can honestly do a lot with those simple tools. And if you have stumbled or fallen in the past, simply get back up. And each time that you stumble or fall, the recovery time will be much faster, because you keep getting up, you keep gaining wisdom, you keep gaining confidence, and you keep gaining understanding of who you are, what you can bring to the table, and also understanding that you are human. And just like a child still kind of learning their motor skills and things like that, life does not come with a handbook, and sometimes it does take very small and intricate things to evolve and blossom and manifest a life that actually makes sense and helps you to feel comfortable and happy and joyous. And all that to say, enjoy this retrograde while Venus is in Leo, because it is really preparing you for whatever is next on your life path. And I truly do have faith in you, and I hope that you feel the same way. I know sometimes it's hard, but flip it with some affirmations. Super easy, very simple. It's all it takes. Thank you so much for joining me once again for an episode of Astro Tea. I hope you have had a great time. Definitely comment down below if you have any questions or concerns. I know that astrology is a very intense language. If you don't understand something, don't be afraid to ask questions. Honestly, I want to help. I want to make sure that everyone is I want to make sure we're on the same page. So have fun, and I hope that you enjoy yourself, and have a good one.